Lolita Petrossov. Thank you for joining us. Lolita is the founder of Evestar Marketing. Did I say that right?
Yes, Evestar Marketing. Yeah.
And was the co-founder of JetSmarter, of which I was a customer. And I really enjoyed the service, and I really enjoyed watching this thing unfold that I feel like I can sort of relate to probably some of the beginning stages of it, because like I'm in the middle of this crazy moment where it's like all of a sudden it is very clear that this is going to be so much bigger than it is. like there is no question that that is happening. And I know that you lived it and you were playing as big as you could possibly play.
Yeah.
And then there was this moment at which it's like, oh shit, which I want to get into also.
Right.
And you had to make changes that like you knew the customers were going to hate, and you had to live through them. And then you ended up selling the business, and your husband apparently still works there. So like it wasn't a
Right.
disaster. So yeah. But first, I love the immigrant woman founder story. Half my leadership team's women.
Yeah.
So can you tell us, how did you get here? Childhood, and do you
Yeah.
attribute how you got here to the fact that you're a founder?
No, of course it did. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's pretty incredible, right? That, JetSmarter got sold in 2018, right? And I got into your studio not even knowing that you're a customer, but this is like the story of my life, right? I will get on a call and people are like, oh my God, JetSmarter founder, I used to be your customer. You like, I can't even explain to you the extent of that happening still on a daily basis. And usually like right now, I don't really talk much about it because Evestar is doing really well. And I, get prepared to come in to talk about Evestar, but JetSmarter, yeah, it's been, I would call it today, it was a cultural phenomena, right, as the company. Yeah. To get to the question of like my childhood, I was born in Uzbekistan. I don't know whether most of the people even know where it's located, right? It's the Soviet Union, country, middle-class family. My father was a, lawyer, mom, a teacher. I was actually playing tennis. So I started playing tennis at the age of 7, realized that I have this incredible talent, right? So my parents started, investing a lot of money in my tennis. And at about 13, right, there was a dream that if you want to continue playing tennis and turn pro, you got to come to Florida, Nick Bollettieri Academy, right, IMG Academy. So my family actually applied for a green card, right, dreaming about my professional career already. I was already like about 11 years old, and my father wins a green card in Uzbekistan, right? It was just like the chance. We played, we won, and it's like, what do we do, and this is how we ended up. It happened very quick, and was the ticket to Bradenton, which is, I don't know if you ever been to Bradenton.
No.
It was very small. It's like a village in Florida, and the only thing that they had was this Bollettieri Academy, right?
Yeah.
It was right. It wasn't. We immigrated in 2000. I was 13 years old, and yeah, I remember it was just before IMG bought Nick Bollettieri Academy. So I come in, no English. All I know is how to play tennis. My family all in on my tennis career. I turned pro at the age of 14. Did pretty well, had some, ups and downs with some sponsors. And then you kind of got an opportunity to go play for University of Florida. And I thought that, University of Florida, full scholarship, they were #1 ranked in NCAA Division I. So
amazing.
A lot of people, athletes would get in, play for a couple of years, get education, and then turn pro. So that's what I did. But I met my husband at University of Florida, my junior year, and we fell in love and got married on campus.
Wow.
And graduated in 2008, which was, I think that obviously recession, the worst time to graduate, no jobs out there, and we're like two talented people, very eager to start our adult life, no jobs out there. And then my husband is very entrepreneurial, and we kind of had an idea of this JetSmarter to start it. So this was, JetSmarter was our first job, to be honest with you. And it's an amazing experience, and it like took off, so.
That is incredible that it was your first job.
Yeah.
Was your husband an athlete also?
No, he was not. He's always dreamed to build a big business. Very smart, very wise soul, very
Right.
entrepreneurial. Studied finance. Yeah, and it was just like, what do you do in 2008? Right? No jobs. We graduated.
Oh
with
yeah, it
degrees,
was a mess.
It's like it was like circumstances. But I think that he got exposed to the industry. Actually, worked for a broker. Comes home and he says, Lolita, there's a massive opportunity. I started working as a, jet broker. They still fax. The airplanes are a mess. Nobody can find airplanes. And he was always very into tech.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think that we can do something. And if we can go, and that was the time actually when we started building an app was already was 2011. And, so we started building it and putting some data into it, and then it started taking off. Gave it to some friends, and people were like, "Oh my God, there's some legs behind it." So we kind of went all in on that, and then hit some challenges with the name. We had to change the name like 2 times. First we were called UJet, then we were called SmartJet and JetSmarter. So anyways, but it did take off because I'll tell you that was in the time when apps were becoming popular, right?
Right.
One thing that we did very well is that we started the company at the right place at the right time. We were the first app for private jets, and we were the first in this company that tried to digitize the industry, right?
Right.
So we came in as the kind of the leader, and we ran into this whole space and kind of claimed it that it's ours. I think that's what happened because we understood the power of technology, right? And that industry just was very archaic. So. And I know that there's other companies right now saying that they digitized it or not, but we were actually the first ones. Yeah.
Everybody's going to say that, but
right.
So I'm sure a lot of people have no idea what JetSmarter is or was. I think a really good, you saying it was a cultural phenomenon, I think really captures it well. By the way, I worked for Lehman Brothers. So 2008 resonates very deeply with me. I can't imagine graduating at that time. But I have these Wall Street friends and hedge fund guys and whatever else. And some of my very rich friends were using it, and I just assumed that it was inaccessible to me. And then, because they were almost using it as this status symbol. Let's go to, it was you'd be sitting at a dinner table and then a guy would whip out his phone and it'd be like, do you guys want to go to Vegas tomorrow morning? We can go on a PJ. Right. And it's yeah, actually, that sounds amazing. And then I remember when I found out it was only a couple $1,000s a month and I could fly for free from New York to Miami or Chicago. And it was at a time where I was single and traveling a lot. And it was this feeling that I got of wow, I can actually fly private too. And I understand in the status that I got, it's it became part of my identity,
Exactly.
It was, you were delivered. And I mean, I think that in terms of creating, say what you want about the business model, the arc or whatever. But by the way, so how much money did you guys raise? $1 billion or something?
No. It was valuation, right?
Oh, okay. I thought for some reason I thought you got $1 billion from the Saudis or something.
We close to 200. Yeah, 200.
Okay.
Million. Yeah.
And
so let me explain to you what JetSmart, right? So we started this digital brokerage, and I remember at that time that we had some seed funding, and my husband is brilliant. He's a marketer. Okay. He goes, all right, so we learned how to get the airplane data into the app, and people could go search for their airplane. It was all charter, right? But the charter, as you know, is for wealthy people, ultra wealthy people that can afford to drop $30K on a flight, right, to New York.
Right.
So we go to this big vendor, okay, this big operator, right? Operators who operates in airplanes, and we go to them, and airplanes are very inefficient with the way that they fly, right? There is somebody that charters an airplane. Let's say that you come in as a customer, you need to fly from New York to Miami, but the airplane is positioned in Philadelphia. So they're going to fly Philadelphia to New York to pick you up, and then you hop on an airplane and you go New York to Miami. So we go to this operator and we go, we have this technology and you have a lot of waste, you have a lot of empty legs, okay, that you don't get paid for. And we're going to buy all of your trash. We're going to buy all of these empty legs right now. So they looked at us and they're like, who are these kids? What are you talking about? Why would you want to do this? You know, there was a lot of weird questions like, why do you need it? We're like, listen, we're willing to pay for these empty legs, right? Because they're flying empty anyway, right? Yeah. So we do the deal with them. We buy these empty legs. We get them into our technology. We understand how the airplanes move. And then at that point, you know, we created a membership model and we allowed people that, you know, just like you, that probably have never flown, you know, on a private jet when it chartered, right, to give you an opportunity to make it more accessible to go and experience the flying, right? So this concept absolutely took off and it went viral because all of the friends told their friends and etc. At that point, also, we were attracting a lot of attention because nobody has done that before, right? So, you know, in terms of the fundraising, everybody was willing to, you know, fund us and yes, and then we started looking at the data and we started evolving, right? What we're known for the most right now is that we actually created the, you know, we call it shuttle flights to where it's private jet flying, but you sell it by seat. So
I loved that.
Model, and that model was the first one that we actually brought together. Our first route was New York to Miami. And you know, people just loved it, right? Because you're flying, you're saving so much time, you're very comfortable and things like that. So
yeah, you could take, and it was from Westchester to Fort Lauderdale. So for some people, it was just amazing who were like Florida weekenders or whatever. It was just like the greatest deal on the face of the earth. I just did it for the novelty. It's like, you know, taking a chopper from like the West Side Highway to Westchester and then getting on this PJ and flying it down to like Fort Lauderdale, whatever. It's like I had to get in an Uber and go to South Beach, but like I didn't really care because like it was like such a wild thing that was like so inexpensive relative to like what it was.
You know, at some time, like because we had very strong tech, we obviously built it. We were watching the trends, and this is where I call it a cultural phenomenon that our members, right, such as yourself, they were so into it. It was such an adrenaline to them to hop and experience this, you know, flying, right, that they were checking the app way more than they check Facebook and Instagram at that time.
So I want to talk about this because this is like what I think there's an amazing product lesson in here. So there's two things that came to mind. One is when I was trying to teach myself how to be a marketer, I was watching digitalmarketer.com's content, and they have this chart that's like the before state and the after state that like helps you write copy. And it's like, how do you feel? What is your day? You know, like what the problem solves? I don't know. But then it's like, did your status change? And I think it's like, that was an idea that I pulled on earlier, but like, in terms of like delivering an experience through a product that just like is aspirational and like causes dreaming, like we're rebranding right now. And like, I want this story that I'm living right now where I rent a desk from Dave Rosenberger, who started Jasper AI. I've been renting it for 4 years. They started Jasper AI 2 years ago. They were going to sell their business and start a restaurant. Like, I have 100 texts talking with them about what they're going to do at that time. He sent me a text. It's like, first customer, got the idea 7 days ago. Hopefully this is my Get Emails. Get Emails was what my business was called. It was stuck also at $267,000 a month. But that was our high watermark. I watched those fucking guys build a unicorn in a year. Right. And then I realized it was possible for me, you know? So like this idea that like, if you just keep trying, anything is possible. Like I want that expressed in our brand voice because it makes you feel this certain way. Now, when you said people are checking the app so much, like I can tell you why, because I was doing the same thing. It was just causing me to dream about places I wanted to go. And like, I love looking at the planes. And then you did that deal with Third Home. And I was like looking at houses everywhere that I could like book for free. It was bananas, you know, like it was just like delivering, you know, I just think there's lessons for every entrepreneur in like how creating aspirational brands, first of all, and like you'd like get this little book that you guys would send us and it's like your husband looking fucking sweet, like walking on this plane or whatever, you know, just like this life, right? Like, I think it's like, if you're not at least shooting for that,
Right.
like you should be in a different game, you know,
Right.
because like
Right.
that's exactly what you're trying to capture. And like, I think when you get a product there, it opens up the opportunity to do all sorts of amazing things in
Right.
marketing. Cause
Right.
like, you know, you have people like our product is like, okay, so forms on your website will get you 2% of the traffic to emails. We'll get you 40%. It's like, of course that's going to work. And it like opens up the opportunity to do all sorts of other fun stuff. But like that emotional experience of consuming that app was incredible.
Right. Right.
It really was. It
You know,
just took
what's
some.
interesting is that when we started it, we were building a product. We really wanted to go and cater to people, the wealthy people, that instead of them using a broker and giving them the transparency and understanding what's happening in the aviation industry, like where the airplane positions, how much they actually cost. So that was the idea. But then at that point, right, when you get stuck and you're like, I need more. And this is when my husband is like, how do I get that awareness going? I need to create a product that everybody just wants. And this was the empty leg idea that really put us on the pedestal because it went viral, right?
Yeah.
We created this virality, and then we took it and we ran with it and we started innovating and creating other products. But one thing that we did have is we had really good tech and we understood the behavior, right, of all the people that engaged with an app. And when we were looking in the stats and seeing that people are so hooked on it, that they sit there days and nights, no matter when we send a push, hey, empty like available, people would we would sell it out within seconds. And I'm like, people, what did they just sit there and wait?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
It was just hitting people like me. Like I wasn't working that much at the time. I didn't have a girlfriend even. I was just like looking for stuff to do anywhere.
Right,
and like this was this incredible vehicle to just like get me to another world, you know, whether it was literally just looking at the planes and the flights that were available and imagining being on them, or actually booking something.
Another thing that's so fun also to hear, that what we realized down the road is that we didn't create an aviation product. We created like a social network in the sky, because people then would call and say, I want to join because I want to meet entrepreneurs that have that free time, that travel. So we started realizing that people are doing deals in the airplanes, like big deals, like entrepreneurs sitting there. But the Wi-Fi is glitchy, right, in the airplane. Like now it's better. So you have nothing else to do than sit across each other, have a drink, and socialize. So it like naturally opens you up in the environment, and everybody talks about the businesses, and they would really build businesses like in the airplanes. And then I would hear these stories and I'm like, wow, right? This is what we actually created. We created this amazing network, right? And so it's very interesting.
So back to the moment where you're like, holy shit, this is going to get a lot bigger. Like, what metrics were indicating that? Like,
first of all, it was the stickiness and the growth. We were growing like a weed, but remember, like,
what is a weed? Is that like 100% a month? Like, what is it? What's a weed? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we from the founding to an exit, it was a 5-year ride for us, right? So yeah, we were at some point growing 100%, month over month, until obviously when you hit and then you kind of slow down. But at that initial phase when we were, raising money, we were, plus we were in the period of these high growth tech companies as well, right? The WeWork, the Uber. So we rode on the wave because we kind of got into our private aviation segment and we run with it. We were, one of the first ones. So, yes, the growth, this is what people wanted at that phase. And there's lots of movies that are made right now, and the companies, and, grow at all costs. Lots of also mistakes learned along the way. But yes, we were, the customers were very loyal, right? We were innovating, we were learning, and we were growing. But I do know that, what we learned, it was funny, is that I've spoken to, I think at this point, thousands of members probably throughout my, in the last decade, that they would, express it, and they say the product was still so sticky, it was like a drug.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is like what I'm describing of my experience with it.
Right. You fly one time, you hook, you never want to go fly commercial, because the commercial flying is just so awful, right? Especially in the United States. It's just so bad to where people would go and they're like, I'm going to go and start businesses so I can afford this because I'm never going back, right? So we actually created lots of, we inspired a lot of young entrepreneurs as well that pushed them, to work hard because they would experience this life. Yeah.
So were there, let's talk about like the pivot. It from the out. I'm just telling you what I experienced from the outside. It was an era when venture capital was funding unprofitable business models.
Right.
You looked at this thing and you're like, this is too good to be true. Then there was this day of reckoning that occurred where it's like, okay, my shuttle flight from New York to Chicago, which was free and I was doing all the time, is now like $600. And like, then it became, well, it's just not efficient anymore, something like that, right? It's not like I maybe did a couple more and then it sort of fizzled out, and then like I turned around and it was like sold 2 months later or whatever. So the interpretation was, well, that was a flame out, but like, so like it had to have been euphoria on the way up, just like I can't even believe, because like that's kind of what I'm experiencing. It's like I can't believe that no one has a single bad thing to say about this. And they just tell their friends, and it's like ripping through the Shopify Plus ecosystem, right? Like this is just a dream.
Right.
And then what happened to where you're like, we have to change the pricing of this? Like what was the, like, what led up to that?
So we were going through the hyper growth, right? Mistake that we did is we overexpanded. And this is one of the things that I talk about a lot today. And I'm in e-commerce right now. I deal with all types of entrepreneurs. That, let's say that like I have a cosmetics brand right now, and she comes to me. She's like, I'm gonna expand and I'm gonna start introducing apparel in my cosmetics brand. Why? Why would you want to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So we overexpanded because we were chasing this hyper growth, right? And there were certain routes that we're not filling up, right? Because everybody kind of, the scheduled flights, shared scheduled flights, they overshadow the empty legs. Nobody wanted the empty legs anymore because on empty legs, you don't, it's like there's
you're just sort of.
So that thing came on, but we had to, get an airplane, prepay for it, and we were banking on that to fill up. And there's certain routes that we're not filling up, and it was caused by us overexpanding. We overexpanded. We started flying coast to coast. Europe, Middle East, that was all over the place.
Yeah, you added an Aspen flight at one point. I was going to Aspen all the time at the time.
Right. It was too fast, right? And then sometime when the growth started slowing down, right, we needed to make sure that we started paying attention to things such as unit economics, right? That's something that we learned.
So you were, just to be clear, like that was like, it was like we're growing so fast, like we're not even paying attention to unit economics. Like this is just amazing.
Right, because we were growing, but at some point, and every business kind of plateaus, right?
Yeah.
And this is
and by the way, like I have no idea what our customer acquisition cost is. I just know that it's so far better than any business I've ever seen before. I'm not even bothered to calculate it yet. I'm like, let's wait until the channels prove out, and then so it's like I get why you would.
Right.
It doesn't matter when you're growing at like 50% a month. Or
you're not looking at it. You're looking at it. How many members can we acquire? How many? And we did, right? And then the influencers came. We were the first ones to create the viral influencer campaign. So we kind of conquered everybody. But then it's sometimes you mature, and also the investors that come in, they're mature, right? At the round C, you have private equity that comes in, it changes the dynamic. And that's where, that's what happened is they come in, they look at it, and they invest in the company. They need to exit in 3 to 5 years, and they are unemotional about it. And they, they want you to start, not growing at price at all costs, right? But actually, start getting more profitable. So that's what happens, right? So the more mature investors that come in, they say, okay, how do we get to profitability? And you have to figure it out, right? With all these customers, all these airplanes and routes. But I think that if we would have, the learnings that I've had, if we would have but we were young too, right? And we were in the era of grow, and everybody's growing, and Uber's growing, and WeWork is growing. You know what I mean? So pay attention to your unit economics. Get into the route, dominate before you go into another one. Right? We knew like New York, Miami to us was super profitable. We dominated it. At some point we would fly 10 times per day. It would always fill up, right? But why did we have to get into Chicago, right? We thought that we're going to be able to come in and kind of, sell the memberships, but we kind of stumbled there, So it was a different audience because New York, Miami is kind of the crowd that we understood very well as well. So so the business started maturing. This is what happens, right? You have more sophisticated investors that come in, and they look at the things and they say, and you start pivoting and changing the model, and it happens. I call it a maturity, right? That the company needs to at some point. But that's what happened.
In making those free shuttle flights paid, like you had to know that was going to just piss people off, right? I mean, but for you, it may have just, I don't know. I'm going to let you talk.
No. But you do remember that we have restrictions too. We had these tokens that people were chasing, that we would not allow them to book unlimited. The tokens would restrict you into how many you would want to book. So then people were like, why do you have the tokens? Because they would get so into it. Right. They're like, we want unlimited all you can eat. And this is at some point where like, you can't do that because there's other members as well. So it's like maneuvering the supply and demand, right? And then trying to, eventually. So what we're trying to do, basically, if you remember, the memberships, we were pretty steep, right? There were like the smart membership we had at some point, it was $15,000 per year that allowed to book 2 flights, right, in certain rounds for free. And if you wanted to book a 3rd flight, you had to pay for it. So that was already ingrained in the head that they would, because they can't just book unlimited and take all the inventory. Because then we had other members complaining, saying that, hey, listen, I'm in Zoom meetings or whatever. I'm in meetings all day long, and there's some people that work from home. They book up all the flights. I don't have because we have limit, right? So, trying to please it all kind of. But then what we were trying to do is we were trying to lower the membership fee, right, to where it would, and start charging for the seats to compensate for it.
Got it.
And this is when a lot of members did not kind of notice, because they were like so zoned into.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, that message was lost on me. Like, because like, I think what happened was like, I mean, whatever. It's just my experience. Like, one of the sales guys sold me on like an extension at some point, and then I don't know. It was just. I just imagined that it was like a treacherous situation to navigate.
Yeah, no, it was not easy, right? And we had to deal with, at that point, private equity. We were backed by Clear Lake. They're one of the largest private equity firms right now in the United States. And we had to make some decisions, and we had to make them. Every business makes them. So I resonate with a lot of these founders and their stories, because I've been in those shoes. Listen, we've done it. The company sold very well to Vista Global. It's still doing well. Right now, they renamed it. Actually, my husband was one of the ones who suggested to rename JetSmarter to EXO. Right now, this is what it's called. And it's JetSmarter technology. And we right now control all of the lift, right? Because we own airplanes. At JetSmarter, we didn't own any airplanes. We were, brokering the airplanes. So, it's doing very well. But lots of members stayed. And by the way, lots of right now, there was some media controversies as well. This is where I also learned to stay humble, stay out of the media side, because the media, they love you, but then they can destroy you very quickly when they choose to, right? Yeah. So this is one of the learnings right now that, that we've had, that whenever you're growing something, pay attention to your unit economics, don't overexpand, and, let the results do the talking, but you kind of, stay out of it, because the media, they can lift you, but they will destroy you for whatever. And it's a lot of it was exaggeration, not true, falsified information. There was somebody that, I remember that video that started running, that there was a member that got drunk on the airplane. Some other member filmed it, sold it to the media. Like, it happens on every flight. It happens on commercial flights every single time. Right. Every single time it happens. Claiming that we aren't safe and this and that. We had the safest protocols. We were the only ones that had our security dogs, that would sniff for, all types of like illegal apps, and cash. And like, we were very, very safe. We spent a lot of money on safety But the whole story turned out that what happens on JetSmarter airplanes, and look at this passenger, it was a passenger that had a little too much to drink, right? Yeah. And then that video, it was like, it was a mess. So I think that at that point, when kind of the narrative changed, lots of fabrication, exaggeration, right? The private equity, the company maturing. Yeah. So that's when, the decisions were, we had a good offer and we decided to sell it, and the company is doing very well.
Did the PE involvement, so it's like you got your venture guys at the early stage, the Series C guys show up and they're like, no, this has to be like done way differently. We got to act like adults here or whatever. And then at the same time, there's like a negative media explosion. Did they go out and get the offer and do everything? Like I've been a part of 2 M&A processes, right? But like I didn't have investors in either one of them. So like I was kind of like, right, my side. Like I'm just curious how, when you have these like really big hired gun investors, does that change things? Are they doing all of this? Like, surely they like have connections to buyers and sellers of all these companies, like.
Right. Well, yeah. Yes, they were leading it, of course, because they came, right. They bought most of the company already. They had the control of the company, right? And when they have control of the company, they have experience, they have relationships, they understand what it's like. As I said, that they look at it strictly from the, doing the right things to the shareholders. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who are funding the business. The business needs to mature. So they're professional. They're very unemotional to the noise that happens outside. So that noise that was going on, they know what they got to do. And, but it was a collective effort. We were working with them. They were a great partner to us. And it was a collective, effort. We, agreed, right? My husband
That's awesome.
Agreed. So, but yeah, it was a roller coaster. And we had to learn a lot about it, not to pay, because that noise gets into your head. Right.
Well, I mean, I can imagine, especially if it's about you.
Right. Into your head. So that's at some point where you're like up and down and you reach that peak, and then people start, no matter what you do, it's like you're wrong. But listen, the business, we were trying to find the right business model. It was time for us to find the right business model. It was time, right? So we had to go make changes. We didn't do anything that was wrong. It's just lots of members, given how emotional we were to the product. Right. Emotional. It created a lot of noise. And like I would hear like conversation, the members would call me and they go, well, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like I have to like commercial now? And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess so. Right. I feel sorry, but
and it's
but I don't want to. Like, what do you mean? Like I gotta go sit over there and coach. And I'm like, the membership expired. You had to renew every single year, but that's the way it is. But these emotions, how people were so into it, created, a lot of unnecessary.
I still think it's what you should be shooting for. It's like, again, if like it's illuminating what's possible in a product to me, right? Like I was hooked on it, and like
everybody, you were not the only one.
Now that you're pointing this out, like. The reason that I was so pissed off about when everything changed is because it's like it got taken away from me. Like I couldn't afford
that's how they felt. They took it very personal.
Yeah.
Because they already kind of dreamed and they felt it and they didn't want to go back, and some could not afford it at that point. And they took it very personal, like JetSmarter did this to me. Like what do I do, right? And it was hundreds of those situations like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they would go and they would call and they would, start making videos, falsify lots of information. So that was all happening kind of at the same time. But listen, great learnings. I think that, the company, listen, nothing happened. I remember the media, hey, we're going to go bankrupt, this and that. No, right. It's still there. EXO's doing very well. Vista Global is very happy.
See, that's probably why I thought that it was like, a disaster, because that was what, it was like that happened. And then I was one of these people who took it personally. And then the media was just pouncing on it.
The media took it. What's also interesting, something that we could, this cultural phenomenon aspect of it, right? Members started creating WhatsApp groups. They were called JetSmarter Members Group, and they went viral. So imagine 200 members that met in the airplanes, and they're talking WhatsApp groups, they're exchanging these tokens, they're doing their whole bargains and things like that. So one member that had a bad experience would have immediately get into the WhatsApp group, and they would start it's like you're putting oil in the fire, right? So at some point we had like 20 WhatsApp groups managed by members. We were trying to figure out who those members are, but it went viral. We could not at some point control the narrative whatsoever. So it kind of spun out of control once again, just because it was such an emotional piece to the product, right? So
yeah.
I don't think, like, I speak to so many entrepreneurs and I'm like, oh, can you create the same? Like, some brands hire me because of this JetSmarter story, and they go, do the same. And I go, I can't. You're not selling private jet flights. We're selling jeans.
Right.
What can I do? I can't, like, it's a product being at the right place at the right, innovating and running with it. So,
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that. So how did that lead to Evestar?
That's a very, very good story. So 2018, when JetSmarter got acquired, husband and wife operated business. Nobody needed a husband and wife anymore. So we were the CEO and the COO. And I kind of was not, it was time for me to go. Like there's
Right.
sometimes I felt like I got pushed out or not, but it was time for me because listen, the company got acquired. When you were used to coming in and calling the shots,
Right.
and then you have to go in and don't do that anymore and sit at the table, which, like I'm not that persona that could fit into the corporate world, to be honest with you. I'm a very kind of, different persona. I don't belong in the corporate world. So I decided to leave. And when I was leaving, a couple of my team members said, where are you going? And they were from marketing because they were, reporting to me. And I go, I don't know. I'm going to retire. I think I need a minute. I need a minute because all of this roller coaster, like I need to think about it. And they go, well, we're going to go with you. And I'm like, okay. So they went, and I had the head of growth at, JetSmarter. I had a couple people from the marketing team, and they walked away. And they had families. And I'm like, I felt responsibility over them. And I'm like, what do you do with all this marketing knowledge when I spend millions of dollars on marketing? I think I've tested every single channel, right? I was like, what do you do? You become an agency, right? So I was like, we're going to be an agency focused on tech-enabled products, because that's what JetSmarter was, because our funnel was very complicated, by the way. What we do right now with e-commerce is so easy. I was like, this is the easiest job ever, right? Compared to what, my experience is. So, but guess what? Like 2018, 19, not a lot of tech-enabled products anymore. They were all 2013, 14, and everything about Shopify. At that time, the Shopify. I'm like, what's Shopify?
Right.
We learned. The first customer was in a fashion company. We learned, as I said, it was a much easier learning curve. I was like, whoa, this is much more simple, right? And we kind of, I know that if you want to go and kind of coming into the new industry, new business, you need to do something really well, better than somebody else. So we decided to focus on e-commerce businesses. And right now, we're an e-commerce marketing agency. But that's what, kind of inspired it. I had staff that was one of the best media buyers, spent the most big budgets. They decided to walk with me, and I was like, well, let's go. And I had good reputation already, with the JetSmarter story. So within first month, we got a lot of customers right away. The people are like, no matter what you do, please represent us, and cash flow positive business. And, that's how I ended up here.
That's amazing.
It was like I never had inspirations to start an agency. I had kind of ideas because at JetSmarter, when we were talking about having hyper growth, and at some point every business kind of plateaus, and we have these budgets, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna go for big agency. Maybe they know better than our internal team, and we had a team about 30 people in marketing, right? So we go for Zimmerman. Was a disaster as an experience, Omnicom brand. And then we hire VaynerMedia. I go and I meet Gary Vaynerchuk, and they represent us. It was the last 6 months, and we did the campaign together that flopped. It was the worst thing that we've ever done, actually. I was kind of went with it because I was hoping that they know better. But at that point, I realized that this agency game is not an easy game. You get sold by this, by the CEOs, and they toss you to the marketing interns that don't have experience. They don't understand the pain points that the business go through. They can't consult the CEO in terms of what to do, what to spend the money, because they don't know. They don't have that experience, right? And that was like kind of the another inspiration. I'm like, I've been in the seat of this, being the CEO, COO, controlling big budgets and hiring agencies. I know what it feels like. Right. I know what they want to hear. I know what their pain points are. And so this is what I do now. And I think that this is why we're successful, is because we're very untraditional.
And do you enjoy the life of someone who owns an agency?
Do I enjoy it? Depends on what day you ask me. On
right.
A Friday.
But I guess a better question is like, do you find is this like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan? Like, do you aspire to like get in the middle of something like JetSmarter again? Or like, is this like, where did you feel like, and this is a complicated question because I truly believe that each stage, your life is changing so much at the same time. Like, being in the middle of JetSmarter, if you have like 2 kids in private school, like I'm not sure that you would want that or whatever, right? Like, but do you find it like Diana, my co-founder, she runs her life in a way to where she's always very busy in general. And then she like started this agency after a sales job, and like she just took on too much work, and she was doing all the work and it was running it was like unbearable for her. So like that was why I asked the question. Like, do you find sort of this whole dance that you do as the person who owns the agency something that is like long-term sustainable for you? Or not?
Well, a lot of people, number one question that I get asked, they say, why do you still work? Why are you doing this? You don't need to, right? Which is true. And I was like, I think that I need a therapist to answer that question, because I don't know how to answer a question. I think that it comes from my childhood. Since 7 years old, I was working very hard on a tennis court. I don't know what it's like not to. So I like that busy chaos life. This is what I am, right? And you can't take that identity away. If you take it away from me, I lose the purpose of life, really, right? I'm a mother. I have kids. I'm a wife. I have a business. Like I'm always busy, but I don't know how not to be, right? It's agency. You know what I enjoy? I enjoy helping businesses grow, and this is our DNA. I'm not an easy agency to work with. When they hire us, I tell them, I am not going to listen to your ideas. You're going to listen to mine, right? This is what we're more like, we are not price cheap, right? But I say that if I take you, I guarantee you success, but you need to listen. But I'm not going to be one of those where you call in and tell me how to set up my campaign, ask me why I set up this tool, retention.com. I love your tool. I am a huge believer in it. I force everybody to get it, that I believe that will benefit from it, because it's going to help me deliver better results for them, because you can, in e-commerce, you're as good as your customer list, right? So that DNA, right, of kind of being an untraditional agency and helping them grow. But in order for me to say that I guarantee, I need to run it. They need to turn over the key. Right? So my initial conversation with the brands, the ones that do it, they stay with me for a long time and I scale. And this is what makes me happy, because can I do it over and over and over again and help? And this is what I enjoy doing. It's not as much as like, the agency does very well, very profitable, right? We have a profitable model. I learned that from the JetSmarter, right? But is it, what gets me high and what gets me excited is, seeing the baby brand going from 500K in revenue to 12 in a matter of 18 months. And I have these case studies, right? But guess what? The best ones are the ones that listen. Because I tell them, listen, if you want to come and present an idea, probably tried it. And I had an expensive lesson of failing a lot of things in marketing, right? I know, right? Please trust that I know, right? And that's the kind of the DNA of Evestar that we have, that I can relate to these people, and my driver is helping them. Another driver is I have a very good team, and they deserve to grow, and they deserve to eventually run the agency. They deserve it. They've been with me since JetSmarter age. They at some point, I think that I will just step away and they will run it, because they're better than me. They are they're more passionate, right? So I think that's the thing, and then I'll probably move on to the next thing.
I think that that's like so energizing. It's, my last business was not growing.
Yeah.
And it was just, there was just stasis everywhere. And like, I still work with a lot of the same people, but like, we have brought these people around us who are so incredible. And like, I just get so much energy from even thinking about it. I'm like, oh my God, these people get up every day and they choose to work on this. Like, I can't fucking believe it. Like, this is so, like, to be in a call with someone who's just so, bright and like it's amazing. I love that part of it too. Well, I mean, I think that's kind of all, that was amazing. The whole thing. So I wrap it up with these two things. Like, if you could write one message on a billboard, what would it be for everybody to see?
Okay, one message on a billboard.
Yeah. Or something that's the essence of like a lesson that you think you've learned that everybody can. You know what I mean? Like,
you know what? You have to dream. You have to dream big, but you have to understand that dreaming is not enough. You have to do a lot of work to get there. But you have to have two components. You have to be a dreamer. You have to be crazy a little bit, but you have to be willing to put it all in line and work, because dreaming is not going to just get you there. And I see a lot of talented people today I meet, and they dream, but they don't work hard, right? Why are you going to show up and grind it out? Listen, at the end of the day, looking back, the stories that I remember from JetSmarter is the process of getting there. The grind. Do you enjoy the grind?
yes.
And if you do, you have it.
I love
right? That. Because a lot of people don't enjoy the grind, but this is what it is. I think dream
And another thing that I think is important about dreaming and being able to articulate your dream very well is it like lights a fire in people.
Yeah.
It, like, your dream transfers to their dream.
Yeah.
And like, the bigger it is, like occupying Mars, I thought is just the most ingenious two words I'd ever heard in my life. Elon Musk is like, that is just the craziest idea. But like, it calls part of you as a human. That it's like, this is the most ambitious thing I could possibly be doing with my life. Yeah. Trying to occupy Mars and make humanity a multiplanetary species, Yeah. It's a lot of fucking work.
I think he'll get us there for sure. Elon.
Yeah, for sure. But like, he'll get us there. It's not him. It's the people that he's willing to, that he is able to pull into this thing. Yeah. And like, there's no better marketing to them than these two words that just stab you in the heart. Right. Yeah. Like, and like, I just love that. It's like a dream, but like, he can articulate this dream, spell it out logically for people. Like, the tagline is perfect. And then it's like, by the way, to work
people are born leaders, and I think that this is what, if they have this gift, right? They have to use it. I think that they're to do good for the world, I guess, right?
For sure.
And then not a lot of people have it. Not a little, some people need that leader to go lead, and
right.
Follow them.
Great. Okay, so where do you live?
South Florida, Boca Raton.
Boca Raton, love it. What is your family status? You're married. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids. I have 13 and 11, a boy and a girl, and I'm married to the famous Sergey Petrossov.
do they play tennis?
No. You know what? I hate tennis. I don't like tennis. I think it's such a stupid sport. I played it. I was very good at it. It has given me everything that I am. But like, I'm one of those people, when I move on, I move on. So that's another thing that ever since I finished, I never touched the racket again. It doesn't attract me at all. I'm so into. Yeah. They don't, but they play. My son is a hockey player. I was obsessed about hockey. Right, he's very good. We're
interesting Florida sport.
There. I believe you need sports. Sports is, especially for boys, that's discipline and that's drive. You learn how to cooperate. Be a team player, which is very important in life. Yeah, and daughter is into acting. She's very creative.
Great. What is your favorite book?
What's my favorite book? Shoe Dog by Phil Knight.
Oh, what a great book.
This
Just
is the
could
favorite
not.
book. And in terms of the marketing is Building a Story Brand
I'm
by
gonna get that one.
by Donald Miller.
Building a story brand.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It completely opens up your mind to how to think about your customer. Really good book.
I'm going to read it.
Yeah, the Shoe Dog is always a good read.
Man, the Shoe Dog, I was reading it and like, this was before I started my current business.
Yeah.
And I was just reading about how people were coming to his apartment and he couldn't keep the shoes in his apartment because people were buying them so fast and wanting more. And I was like, this business is never going to work. My product's not good enough. You know? And then sure enough, like 8 years later, I have something that's experiencing that sort of like demand, you know? But I just love that story. So wonderful. And he just seems like such a great guy, you know? And
No,
what an
great.
awesome story. Do you follow people on social media? Do you have somebody who's like, who's your favorite to sort of follow?
You know, I'm not, do I follow people on social media? I mean, the standard, but no, nobody that, I mean, I follow a lot of people. I mean, Elon is my favorite. That's obviously, right? I follow everything Elon does. But then I follow all, you know, entrepreneurs, but yeah, Elon is my favorite.
Mine too. What's your favorite vacation you've ever been on?
Aspen. We go ski every winter. That's my favorite place on earth.
It's so
Colorado.
good. I rented a condo at the base of Ajax for 5 years in a row, all winter.
Nice.
I skied like 300 days. This was before I had my first child, like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Before the child, it was Aspen.
Yeah.
It was all about Aspen.
I live in Florida. I don't like the ocean because we live here, but you know, skiing is my weakness.
Oh,
Mountain skiing, Colorado.
So
oh my
nice.
God.
Have
I can
you
go
been
there.
in
It's my favorite vacation. I'll go every single year and I will experience the same, you know, high.
Have you been in the summer?
No.
You got to go. Just go like in August sometime when it's hot as fuck in Boca Raton. It's like paradise there. The thing about it is it's not just about the ski mountains. It's like the whole valley. Your activity expands to these hikes that are all over the place. They're incredible. The weather is perfect. You can like, you know, there's a whole camping side to it. There's like floating down the river. There's, you know, biking and running and fly. I mean, it's just like the breadth of activity during the summer is just incredible. You can e-bike up to Maroon Bells and like picnic up there. Like it is. Everybody says like they go for the winter and stay for the summer. Like the people that live there. You got to go.
Never been in the summer. It's always the winter. Summer we leave. We're always in Europe in summer.
Oh, okay.
Always, we, you know, fly around Europe. That's our thing. But Florida is impossible to stay in the summer. So.
Yeah, you can't go. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for this hour. It was like wonderful. I really enjoyed getting to know you, and that story is just
Thank you.
incredible.
Now I'm rooting for you.
Well,
Attention.com.
thank you.
Listen,
Thank you.
You know, we as your agency partner, right? We believe in your product. By the way, a couple of the case studies that I'm publishing right now are 100% related to retention.com. Clients that we got back in the day when you would get emails, right, which was not long ago, that we were able to get them in the beginning of the year on retention.com. Their customer list has grown so exponentially, right, to where when we got to Q4, record breaking, like blew all of the projections out of the water. So
can we do a case study with your agency and like one of these and put it on our website?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. That's great.
We have like two that, and by the way, what about all of this recession talk, right? Like, oh, what's happening, demand, right? But I'm seeing that people that had your tool, they were able to drive through this way better than others. It's freaking great. I am your big fan. Like,
those words are literally.
And we just met on this podcast, you see? Like, I just reached out to you on Twitter. I have like no Twitter followers. I just started. Okay. I didn't even know that you were a customer of JetSmarter.
It's just a small
But now
world.
I'm your customer, and now I'm, you know, I think that you're going to do just fine. Just keep grinding it out. Focus on your product. Nobody else does it better than you.
Exactly. That's my hope. We have like this 24-month window to just get it. But unlike JetSmarter, I'm really going for it. We were so cash flow positive when we started really gunning it with go-to-market that like I can't spend the money fast enough. You know what I mean? It's like you spend it and it grows. So like I'm going to hopefully like avoid the pitfall of being like, oh, we have to change everything, you know?
No, don't. By the way, remember the learnings. Don't overexpend.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Well, the thing is like
focus on something. Yeah.
the thing is we narrowed our focus dramatically in September. Now we'll only sell to big Shopify stores. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's like I'm increasing focus as we're like putting muscle onto it, which is like
increase the focus and do it better than everybody else. But you have the
for sure.
Right now you got a lot of people's attention. Like you got my attention because listen, this case study is a phenomenal case study. It's with a shoe brand and with a fashion brand. By the way, if we didn't have retention.com, they would have had a shitty Q4.
I mean,
like,
these words are unbelievable. Like, can I have that quote?
And
like,
you like bailed us out, like for real. But that's the thing, like, but we got them. Once again, it comes from the trust from the customers, the brands that I represent. We came in and said, we need this tool because we anticipate that, you know, paid media becomes more expensive. We need to capture the leads quicker, right? We need to get emails. You were still cold, right?
Yeah.
And, but the amount of emails that we were able to generate with people not opting in is crazy. They crushed their Q4. We would not do it without you.
That makes me so warm and fuzzy inside. Like, it's just amazing. It's like every entrepreneur's dream is to hear those words. You know what I mean? Like to like be the energy that I am putting out in the world is like transformational for people.
It is transformational.
Like I don't care about the money we're making. You know what I mean? It's like I do to the extent that it affords my super ambitious growth plans, right? Like that's all that I care about. Like that's what matters because now I understand that's what will make it grow even faster, right? Like these ideas can't stay bottled up forever. Like something that is that impactful, like, oh, the reason that they're surviving this recession is this product, like that perpetuates, you know? Thank you so much.
No, it's massive. Just, you know, now we, you know, we switched roles. I am a big supporter. Let's go. You know, keep going.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much.
So you're starting on Twitter. How can people learn about you?
Yeah, I'm starting on Twitter. Let me tell you, right? It's a grind, by the way, right? You got to put so much time into Twitter nowadays. Yeah, I just started it like a couple weeks ago. I have only 60 followers. I know that I have to pump content, but I'm very busy right now into day to day in the strategy and the growth of the clients. So yeah, but they can follow me because that's right now my goal is to, you know, put all the learnings out there.
Yeah, if you want.
You were actually my first tweet.
Nice.
Meaning my first DM on the tweet. I found you and I'm like, oh, retention.com. And you were the first message I ever sent.
Amazing.
But let us hear.
That's funny. So if you want to have a separate chat about I'm creating, I don't know if you know this, a huge amount of founder brand content. And I can sort of, I've managed to come up with a system where I'm doing it very efficiently. I'm only spending like 3 or 4 hours a week, and it's creating like 35 different pieces of content that.
What?
Yeah, no, it's bananas. I can explain to you how and it's not even, the distribution's not optimized yet, but I'm at least like it's like creating like a daily work in public video, one of these per week. And then from all of that, I have guys that are creating 2 LinkedIn posts, a Twitter thread every day, and then 2 newsletters a week. So it's just like,
share the love.
I mean, if you, so let's just have let's have another conversation. I'll explain to you why I'm doing what I'm doing, and you can be like, oh, that applies to me or not, right? Like I have a unique sort of situation going on right here. But like, cool.